I made fun of a crude drawing during company presentation, and boss fired me on the spot because his disabled daughter drew it. Years later, she added me on Facebook to apologize for getting me fired. I worked in marketing at a mid-sized advertising firm for about 4 months when this happened. My role was basic stuff at that point since I was still in my probationary period. I handled existing client accounts, answered customer questions, and tried to get people to upgrade their advertising packages. The pay was decent, and I wanted to move up to a creative position eventually, maybe get into the actual design and strategy side of things. My boss had given me good feedback so far, and I thought I was doing okay. The company held these quarterly meetings where everyone from all the different offices came together. It was supposed to be team building, but mostly it was just a chance for management to show off and for people to network. This particular meeting was at our main office, which was where I worked. The big deal was that the owner of the company was going to be there. He usually stayed in his office on the top floor and nobody saw him much. People got nervous when they knew he was coming down. His daughter also came to this meeting. Her name was Beth, and she worked at one of the satellite offices about an hour away. I had never met her before. She was probably in her late 20s, maybe early 30s. It was hard to tell. She moved in a way that seemed off, like her body did not quite do what she wanted it to do. Her speech was slow and took effort. When she talked, she had to concentrate on forming each word. I ran into her at the coffee station during one of the breaks. She was trying to open those little cream containers and having trouble with them. Her hands were shaking and she kept dropping them. I asked if she needed help, and she nodded. I opened a few creamers for her and stirred them into her coffee, then put a lid on the cup. She took it from me and then said very loudly that she hated coffee, but her father made her drink it every morning. Some people nearby turned to look. I just smiled and said something like, "Well, at least it helps wake you up." She walked away after that. The main event of the day was this creative exercise where we got split into teams and had to come up with ad campaigns for fake clients. The owner sat in the front row watching everything. This was a big deal, because if your pitch was good, you might actually get to work on real accounts later. I worked with 3 other people, and we came up with some ideas for a local hardware store. I wrote a jingle for it. Looking back, it was pretty stupid, but everyone was in a good mood and people were laughing at all the presentations. The teams went one by one. Some of the pitches were genuinely terrible. The senior staff members were not even trying. They threw together slideshows with clip art and made jokes the whole time. People were clapping and laughing even when the ideas made no sense. The owner seemed to be enjoying himself. He laughed at a few of the jokes and clapped along with everyone else. Then someone put up a drawing on the screen. It was for the same hardware store my team had pitched for. The drawing looked like something a small child would make. It had stick figures and the letters were all different sizes. Some of the words were spelled wrong. The colors were smeared together and nothing was in the lines. My first thought was that someone was making a joke, like they had asked their kid to draw something as a gag. I did not think before I spoke. I said something like, "Well, at least our jingle was not as bad as that drawing. Did someone let their toddler do it?" A few people near me had started to laugh, but then stopped immediately. The room went completely silent. I looked around, and everyone was staring at me. Some people looked shocked. Others looked disgusted. The woman sitting next to me moved her chair slightly away from mine. The owner stood up. He did not yell, but his voice was hard. He said that if people could not be respectful, they should keep their mouths shut. My boss came over to me and told me to go back to my desk and wait there. As I was leaving the conference room, I saw Beth. Her face was red, and her eyes were watery. She was sitting in the front row next to her father. That was when I understood that she had made the drawing. I sat at my desk for about 20 minutes. Nobody else came back from the meeting. Finally, my boss showed up and told me to come to his office. I tried to apologize right away. I said I did not know Beth had made the drawing, and that I would not have said anything if I had known. He held up his hand and told me to stop talking. He said the decision had already been made and I was being let go. Since I was still in my probationary period, they did not need a reason. He said I was not a good fit for the company culture. A security guard I had never seen before came to the office. He walked with me back to my desk and stood there while I packed my things into a box. Then he walked me out to the parking lot. The whole thing took maybe 10 minutes. I drove home and just sat in my apartment for a while. I did not call anyone. I did not know what to say. About an hour later, one of my former teammates texted me and asked if I wanted to meet up for drinks. I said yes, because I figured I could at least try to get a reference out of someone. 4 people from my team showed up at the bar. They all seemed uncomfortable. Nobody knew what to say at first. After a couple of drinks, one of them finally explained the situation. Beth always submitted a drawing at these quarterly meetings. It was something she had done for years. Everyone knew about it. The unwritten rule was to clap politely, say something nice, and then move on to the next presentation. Nobody was supposed to comment on the quality of the drawing. The owner was extremely protective of Beth, and everyone knew it. They told me that Beth did not really have a job in the normal sense. She went to the satellite office every day, but her work was basically just tasks that kept her busy. Someone always checked her work before it went anywhere. The company paid her a salary, but it was more like an allowance. Her father wanted her to feel like she was contributing, but he also did not want her to actually mess anything up. One of my teammates said the owner had tried to set Beth up with guys at the company before. He would invite younger single men to dinners and make them sit next to her. He would hint that it would be good for their careers if they took an interest in her. Nobody ever did, at least not seriously. One guy had gone on a few dates with her, but then transferred to a different office when the owner started talking about meeting his parents. I asked why nobody had warned me about Beth and the drawing. They all looked at each other. Finally, someone said that they thought I knew. New people usually got told by someone during their first meeting, but this was the first time Beth had been at a meeting since I started. They assumed my boss or someone else had already explained it to me. After a while, I paid for my drinks and went home. I did not see the point in staying. That weekend, I was looking at job postings on my laptop when I got a notification. Beth had sent me a friend request on social media. I stared at it for a long time. I did not know what to do. Accepting it seemed like a bad idea. Ignoring it also seemed bad. I called my friend Marcus and asked him what he thought. He said I should accept it and send her an apology. He said it might help clear things up and maybe she could even put in a good word for me with her father. I did not think that would happen, but I accepted the request anyway. I sent her a message right away. I said I was sorry for what I said at the meeting and that it was unprofessional. I told her I did not know she had made the drawing and that I would not have made the joke if I had known. I tried to keep it short and simple. Then I closed my laptop and did not look at it for a few hours. When I checked later that night, she had responded. Her message was long and it was clear that it had taken her a long time to write. She said she wanted to apologize to me. She said she knew her father had fired me and she felt bad about it. She explained that she had been in a car accident when she was 7 years old. A drunk driver hit their car. Her mother died in the accident and Beth had a serious brain injury. She said she could think normally most of the time, but her body did not work right. She had trouble with her hands and her speech. She had graduated high school, but it took her an extra 2 years. She said people often assumed she was mentally disabled, but mostly she just could not make her body do what she wanted it to do. We ended up messaging back and forth until past 2 in the morning. She told me that she knew most people at the company were only nice to her because of her father. She said she could tell when someone was faking it. She said her father loved her, but he did not really understand her. He would talk to her, but he never waited for her to respond because it took too long. She said sometimes she just pretended to be completely unable to speak because it was easier than trying to force the words out. She said she was not actually upset about my joke. She said she knew I did not know who made the drawing. What upset her was that she could see her father getting angry, and she could not type or talk fast enough to tell him to let it go. By the time she could have said anything, he had already decided to fire me. We kept talking after that night. It was not romantic or anything like that. We just talked about regular things. She told me about a show she was watching, and I told her about some games I had been playing. She asked questions about my old job, and I asked her about her office. She said most days she just organized files that nobody ever looked at. She knew it was not real work, but she went anyway because her father wanted her to. I still have not found a new job. I have been leaving that position off my resume completely because I do not know how to explain why I was only there for 4 months. Marcus keeps telling me I should just say the company had layoffs, but I do not want to lie in an interview. Beth and I are planning to watch the new season of some fantasy show together next week. She sends me messages every few days to check in. It is strange how things worked out. I lost my job over a stupid comment, but ended up actually getting to know someone I would have never talked to otherwise. Update 1. A lot has happened since I posted. I am still unemployed, which is not great, but that is not really what this update is about. Beth and I kept messaging pretty regularly. We started doing video calls instead of just texting because she said it was easier for her than typing everything out. At first, the calls were kind of awkward because she would take a long time to respond to questions, and I did not want to jump in and finish her sentences. But after a few calls, I got used to the rhythm of it. She would start a sentence and sometimes have to stop and restart it a couple times. I would just wait. It was fine. We talked about a lot of random stuff. She told me more about her job that was not really a job. She said her father had created the position specifically for her after she finished a community college program. The program was for people with disabilities who wanted to work in an office setting. She spent 2 years learning how to use email and spreadsheets and basic office software. When she graduated, her father hired her immediately. She said she knew none of it was real, but it was better than sitting at home all day. She also told me about the guys her father had tried to set her up with over the years. There had been 5 or 6 of them. Most of them went on one awkward dinner with her and then made excuses after that. One guy took her to a movie and then to lunch a couple times, but she said she could tell he was only doing it because her father had hinted it would help his career. That guy eventually started dating someone else at the company and acted like Beth did not exist anymore. Her father was furious and made the guy transfer to a different office. During one of our calls, she asked me if I had heard anything from anyone at the company. I said no. She got quiet for a minute and then told me that her father had sent out an email to all staff about workplace conduct and respect. She said everyone knew it was because of what happened with me. She said a couple of people from the main office had stopped being as friendly to her after that. They still said hello, but they did not sit with her at lunch during meetings anymore. She said it was probably because they were worried about saying the wrong thing and getting fired too. Then one night she called me and she sounded different. Her voice was shaking more than usual and she was tripping over her words more than normal. It took her a long time to get to the point. Finally, she told me that her father had asked her about me. He had seen my name pop up on her phone when she got a message from me. He wanted to know why she was talking to me. She told him that we were friends and that she had reached out to me to apologize. He told her she should not be talking to me and that I was not a good person. She told him that she wanted to decide who her friends were. He said he was just trying to protect her. She said she did not need that kind of protection. They argued about it for a while, which was hard for her because arguing required her to talk fast, and that was difficult. Eventually, he just walked away while she was still trying to finish a sentence. After she told me all this, she asked if I thought she should stop messaging me. She said she did not want to cause problems with her father, but she also did not want to cut off one of the few real friendships she had. I did not know what to tell her. I said it was her choice, and I would understand either way. She said she was going to keep talking to me, but she would be more careful about when and where she checked her messages. About a week after that, I got a message from a number I did not recognize. The message said I needed to stop contacting Beth or there would be legal consequences. It said I was harassing her and taking advantage of her disability. I screenshotted the message and sent it to Beth. She called me right away. She was crying, which made her even harder to understand than usual. She said her father must have gone through her phone and found my number. She said she had not told him to contact me, and she did not want me to stop talking to her. I told her I was not going to respond to the message. I said if her father wanted to threaten me, he could do it himself instead of sending anonymous texts. She said she was going to confront him about it. I told her to be careful, and that it was not worth blowing up her relationship with her father over. She said her relationship with her father had been broken for a long time, and this was just making it obvious. The next day, Beth called me again. She said she had talked to her father and it did not go well. She told him that she knew he had texted me and that he had no right to do that. He said he was protecting her from someone who had already insulted her publicly. She said I had apologized and that we were friends now. He said I was using her to try to get my job back or to get money from the family. She told him that was ridiculous. He said if she kept talking to me, he would have to reconsider her position at the company. She told him to fire her then. She said she was tired of pretending to do work that did not matter. She said she was tired of him treating her like a child who could not make her own decisions. He did not say anything to that. He just left the room. She said he had not spoken to her since then. That had been 2 days ago. I asked her if she was okay. She said she was fine, but she was also scared. She said she still lived in a house her father owned. She did not pay rent, but he could technically kick her out whenever he wanted. She had some money saved from her fake job, but not enough to live on her own for very long. She also needed help with certain things like getting dressed in the morning and making meals. She could do those things by herself, but it took a long time, and sometimes she needed someone to help her if she was having a bad day with her coordination. I did not know what to say to any of that. I felt like this whole situation was my fault. If I had just kept my mouth shut at that meeting, none of this would be happening. Beth told me to stop thinking like that. She said her father had been controlling her whole life, and this was going to happen eventually. She said she was glad it was happening now rather than later. We kept talking after that, but things had changed. She was stressed about her living situation and her relationship with her father. I was stressed because I still did not have a job, and now I was worried I had ruined her life. Marcus told me I should cut contact with her and let her work things out with her family. He said I was making everything more complicated. I told him I was not going to abandon someone who actually wanted to be my friend. Then yesterday, something else happened. Beth called me and said her father had told her she could keep her job, but only if she stopped talking to me completely. He said he would also continue to let her live in the house rent-free, but if she chose to keep me as a friend, she would need to find her own place and her own job. He gave her a week to decide. She asked me what I thought she should do. I told her I could not make that decision for her. I said I would understand if she chose her father and her stability. She said she did not want to do that. She said she had been thinking about moving out for a long time, but had always been too scared. She said maybe this was the push she needed. I asked her if she had anyone else who could help her. She said she had an aunt who lived about 2 hours away. The aunt had offered to let her move in before, but Beth had never taken her up on it because she did not want to leave the area. Now she was reconsidering. She said her aunt was her mother's sister and that her father did not get along with her. She said if she moved in with her aunt, her father would probably stop talking to her completely. We are supposed to talk again tomorrow. She said she is going to spend the next day thinking about what she wants to do. I told her I would support whatever she decided. I meant it, but I also feel terrible. This whole thing started because I could not keep my mouth shut for 10 seconds. Update 2. Beth moved out of her father's house 3 weeks ago, She is living with her aunt now. Her father did not try to stop her, but he also did not help her move. She packed what she could by herself, and her aunt drove down to pick her up. Beth said her father was not home when she left. She does not know if he was avoiding her on purpose or if it was a coincidence. Her aunt's name is Linda, and she is a lot different from what I expected. Beth talks to me about her pretty often now. Linda is in her 50s and works as a nurse. She has a small house with an extra bedroom that she had been using for storage. She cleared it out for Beth. Linda also has a teenage son who is away at college most of the year, so the house is usually quiet. Beth says living with Linda is better than living with her father, but it is still an adjustment. Linda is patient with her, but she also expects Beth to contribute to the household. Beth has to help with cooking and cleaning, which is hard for her because of her coordination issue. Linda does not do everything for her like her father did. Beth says she has burned herself twice trying to use the stove, and she dropped a plate that shattered all over the kitchen floor. But she also says she feels more like an actual adult now than she has in years. The job situation is more complicated. Beth officially quit her position at her father's company. She sent an email to HR and copied her father on it. He did not respond. She said she does not know if he was hurt or relieved. She has been applying to other jobs, but has not had any luck yet. Most places do not respond to her application. The few that do respond send automated rejections. Linda has been covering her expenses for now, but Beth knows that is not sustainable long term. Beth and I are still talking regularly. We do video calls a few times a week and text most days. She has been teaching me about some of the shows she watches, and I have been recommending books to her. She likes audiobooks because reading physical books is hard for her. Her hands shake too much to hold a book steady, and she loses her place, but she can listen to audiobooks while she does other things. A couple of weeks ago, Beth told me something that changed how I saw this whole situation. She said her father had reached out to her aunt Linda and asked her to convince Beth to come back home. Linda told him no. She said Beth was an adult and could make her own choices. Her father apparently got angry and said Linda was turning Beth against him. Linda told him that he had done that himself by treating Beth like a possession instead of a person. After that call, Linda sat down with Beth and told her some things about her father that Beth had not known before. Linda said that after the accident that killed Beth's mother, Beth's father had become obsessed with control. He blamed himself for the accident because he had been the one driving, even though the drunk driver had run a red light and there was nothing he could have done. Linda said he had been drinking that night too. Not a lot, but enough that he was slightly over the legal limit. He was never charged with anything because the other driver was clearly at fault, but he carried guilt about it anyway. Linda said he had poured all of that guilt into Beth. He monitored everything she did and made all her decisions for her because he was terrified of something else bad happening to her. Linda said she had tried to talk to him about it years ago, but he had cut her off and accused her of not understanding what it was like to almost lose a child. Linda backed off after that because she did not want to make things worse for Beth. Beth told me she did not know any of this. Her father had never talked to her about the accident beyond the basic facts. She knew her mother had died and that she had been injured, but she did not know her father blamed himself. She said it explained a lot of his behavior, but it also made her angry. She said his guilt was not an excuse for treating her the way he did. I finally got a job last week. It is not in marketing or advertising. It is at a call center doing customer service for an insurance company. The pay is less than my old job, and the hours are worse, but it is something. I start next Monday. I told Beth about it, and she said she was proud of me. She said she knows how hard it has been for me to find something. She apologized again for everything that happened. I told her to stop apologizing. None of this was her fault. Marcus has been on my case about Beth. He thinks I am wasting my time being friends with her. He said I should be focusing on my career and not getting caught up in other people's family drama. I told him that Beth is my friend, and I am not going to cut her off just because her situation is complicated. He said, I am going to regret it. Maybe he is right, but I do not care. Beth's father showed up at Linda's house last week. Beth was not there at the time. She had gone to a job interview for a receptionist position at a dentist's office. Linda answered the door. She said he looked terrible, like he had not been sleeping. He asked if he could see Beth. Linda told him Beth was not home. He asked when she would be back. Linda said she did not know, and that even if she did know, she would not tell him. She said if he wanted to talk to Beth, he needed to call or text her like a normal person. He asked Linda why she was doing this. She told him she was not doing anything except giving Beth a safe place to live. He said Beth was not safe with her because Linda could not take care of her properly. Linda asked him what he meant by that. He said Beth needed help with daily tasks and medical supervision. Linda told him that Beth was doing fine, and that she was more capable than he gave her credit for. He left after that, but he did not drive away immediately. Linda said he sat in his car outside the house for about 20 minutes. She watched him from the window. He had his head down on the steering wheel. Eventually, he drove off. Linda told Beth about it when she got home. Beth said she did not know how to feel about it. She said part of her wanted to call him, and part of her wanted to block his number. She has not done either. His number is still in her phone, and he has not tried to contact her directly. Beth says she thinks he is waiting for her to make the first move. She says she does not know if she wants to do that. She says she is tired of being the one who has to accommodate him. The receptionist job did not work out. They called her back for a second interview, but then sent her a rejection email the next day. Beth thinks it is because of her disability. She said the woman who interviewed her kept asking questions about whether she could handle the physical demands of the job, like filing papers and answering the phone. Beth said she could do those things, but she could tell the woman did not believe her. Update 3. Beth got a job. It is part-time at a library about 15 minutes from Linda's house. She shelves books and helps people use the computers. The pay is not great, but it is a real job where she does real work. She has been there for 3 weeks now, and she says she likes it. Her coworkers are nice to her, and they do not treat her like she is fragile. One of them is teaching her how to use the library database system, so she can help people find books more easily. She still has trouble with some of the physical tasks. Shelving books is hard because she has to reach high shelves and her balance is not great, but one of her coworkers got her a small step stool that is easier for her to use, and that has helped. She dropped a stack of books on her first day and was worried she would get fired, but her supervisor just helped her pick them up and told her to be more careful next time. Beth said it was the first time in a long time that someone had treated a mistake she made like it was just a normal mistake, and not evidence that she could not handle anything. Her father contacted her about a month ago. He sent her a text message asking if they could meet for coffee. She did not respond right away. She talked to Linda about it first. Linda said it was up to Beth, but that she should be prepared for him to try to convince her to come back home. Beth decided to meet him, but she asked me to come with her and sit at a different table in the coffee shop, just in case things went badly and she needed someone there. We met him at a place downtown. I sat in the corner with a book and tried not to be obvious about watching them. Beth's father looked older than I expected. He had dark circles under his eyes and his clothes looked wrinkled. He and Beth sat across from each other at a small table near the window. I could not hear what they were saying, but I could see their body language. He did most of the talking at first. Beth just listened. At one point, he reached across the table like he was going to take her hand, but she pulled her hand back. He looked down at the table after that. They sat there for almost an hour. Toward the end, Beth started talking more. I could see her struggling to get the words out. He did not interrupt her, which surprised me based on what she had told me about him before. When they were done, Beth came over to my table. Her father left without looking at me. She sat down and said her father had apologized. He said he knew he had been controlling and that he had not treated her like an adult. He said he wanted to have a relationship with her, but he understood if she needed space. He asked if she would be willing to have dinner with him once a month. She told him she would think about it. Beth has not decided yet whether she is going to have dinner with him. She says part of her wants to give him a chance, and part of her thinks it would just be falling back into old patterns. Linda told her she should do whatever feels right and not rush into anything. I told her the same thing. She says she will probably say yes eventually, but not yet. She wants to be more stable in her job and her living situation first. My job at the call center is fine. It is boring and the customers are often rude, but it pays my bills. I am still looking for something in marketing or advertising, but I am not having much luck. I took that 4-month position off my resume entirely, and I just say I was doing freelance work during that time if anyone asks. Nobody has pressed me on it yet. Beth and I are still friends. We see each other in person now sometimes, not just on video calls. Last week we went to a bookstore together and just walked around looking at things. It took us 2 hours to get through the whole store because Beth wanted to stop and look at everything. She bought 3 books and I bought 1. We got lunch after and talked about what we were reading. Marcus still thinks I'm wasting my time. He said I should be networking and trying to rebuild my career, not hanging out with someone who got me fired. I do not talk to him about Beth anymore. There is no point. He does not understand and I do not feel like explaining it to him. Things are not perfect. Beth is still figuring out how to live independently, and I am still working a job I do not really care about. Her relationship with her father is complicated, and might stay complicated forever, but things are better than they were a few months ago. Beth has her own life now, and she is making her own choices. I have a friend who actually wants to spend time with me and who does not pretend to be someone she is not. I do not know what happens next. Maybe Beth will reconcile with her father, or maybe she will not. Maybe I will find a better job, or maybe I will be stuck at the call center for a while. But right now, things are okay. Not great, but okay, and that is enough.